list. Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Ladies and gentlemen, Spoiler Ep 30.
What better movie? Spoiler Ep 30.
Bum, 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 bum. The Age of Ultron.
Now, before...
Avengers! Assemble!
Are they in it?
They are in it.
Maybe.
The Avengers are in this?
Yep. All 9 of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest is comedy film nerd's writer, been with us from the start. The lovely and talented, Jackie Kashian.
Thank you very much for having me, gentlemen. I am happy to be here.
Now, before we get started, you are on your way to see the Avengers again after the spoiler ep.
Right.
But how many times have you seen it already?
I've only seen... Now, Graham, there's been some mocking. Some open mocking. I've only seen it once. I saw it at Sherman Sunday night. So 2 days ago. So I've clearly forgotten.
How did you do that? How could you walk around Friday and Saturday and not, how did you physically do that?
I do stand-up comedy. I don't like crowds. I don't know if you know this about me.
Were you restrained?
I was not restrained. I was busy. I was multitasking my fool head off. And then I thanked the baby Jesus that nobody was all spoilery on the internet. Like, I didn't read any reviews. I didn't watch any previews. I was like, I'm not looking for trouble, right? I'm not that guy. Anyway, but what I am is, but nobody on Twitter. All of my friends on Facebook, all they said was, I really liked it. One woman friend of mine was like, I didn't like it. And I was like, who are you? Why out loud?
How do I unfriend you?
How do we move away from each other, more than digitally?
All right. So anybody, real quick, spiritually, I need to unfriend you. But real quick, anybody who's tuning into these for the first time, we're going to only talk about, Avengemen and,
the Men of Avenge.
The Men of Avenge and the Ultronics.
Yep.
And we're going to do spoilers. So we're going to get into the ending and all of that. So if you haven't seen this movie and don't want any of that ruined, you really picked the dumb episode to
Hawkeye
download.
breaks a string, you guys. Boom.
Okay. So obviously we all loved it.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All good. Article in Vanity Fair. Guy compared it to Daredevil, the TV show. And I was like, why would you compare it? You shouldn't compare it. They're two entirely different animals. Both are fine.
Was his thing like he doesn't like Daredevil TV show?
No, he loved Daredevil TV show. And he was like, this was too cartoony. And you're like, comic books. And every comic book is its own animal. So
it's just an ignorant reviewer.
Yeah, just a Vanity Fair maroon is what he was. Parts of it were
right
good.
There. Vanity Fair.
Yes.
I just take Batman. You can have Adam West Batman and Christopher Nolan Batman.
Right.
They're both still Batman.
They are both still Batman.
The comic books, there's a very large spread with comic books, even with just within one character. So to compare... It's idiotic for many different reasons to compare the two.
Right. I'm not even going to compare a Deadpool comic to a Spider-Man comic book.
Right, exactly.
I can enjoy both of them.
And also, films and comics are different mediums.
Yes.
Yeah, very much so.
Another thing, too, the Avengers, if you know anything about this comic, it is the biggest, most fantastic,
loudest brightest
of the comics.
Yes. Of the comics. This is the powerhouse grouping of crazy people.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be larger than life?
That fight against anything that's going to destroy the world.
And it right from the get, that thing out the door,
out the gate.
Boom.
Yeah.
So good.
With a budget of $250 million. $250 million to make.
Did they spend it all, or was there change? Did anybody bring change back from the 7-Eleven? So as long as you're going to the store, can you pick me up a Diet Coke? As long as you guys are there.
Can you imagine $250 million spent on one film?
No.
No, was it?
Yeah.
And they spent it all. Now, here's my question.
We are making a documentary that probably is like less than Chris Hemsworth's trainers.
Yeah. Right, with the sit-ups and the core work.
And that's not even including the marketing budget.
Right, which is crazy. Why even bother at this point? Everyone knows. Everyone knows it's all going to work out.
$50 million in marketing?
A smart marketing person is at one point is going to figure out when you have a movie like The Avengers, I don't think we need to spend as much here. I don't think we do.
I'm going to buy an island.
Yeah.
And then,
you know what we could do with that $50 million? Make $51 million movie.
Yeah. Any number of people would love to make a $1 million movie. It would be so good. But, I thought it was, pretty awesome. And, I was told this. I actually had to look it up. I vaguely remember when Ultron is sitting in the bombed out church with the hood up. Mm-hmm. That is an actual shot, like a frame from Avengers. Had to look it up. I did not know this. Number 54, when Ultron is first introduced into the canon, into the Marvel canon. And most of the issue of, spoiler alert also, for Avengers number 54 from the 12th century, if you guys haven't read that. It is, but they think he's the Crimson Hood, because he's got that hood up. Mm-hmm. And then he turns around and so that's...
He's all robot faced.
He's all robot. He's Ultron, so he's the red and, he wasn't the Vision, but he's all robot faced.
Yeah.
but he also hypnotized, Jarvis. For real, like the real Butler Jarvis in Avengers 54.
Now, also, one of the things, too, is we haven't been introduced to Ant-Man yet. Really, that's who created Ultron.
Well, Hank Pym did, the original Ant-Man, not Paul Rudd, but
of course.
But right. And Hank Pym, I was thinking about Hank Pym. Hank Pym he was just a scientist nerd initially, right? Yeah. He was just another Bruce Banner, another Reed Richards, and then he punched his wife once, and then he has gone into a spiral of he's gone mad. He's become mad scientist since then, and that was in the 80s, and they've never retconned that. They've never rebooted Hank Pym. He's always the guy who punched his wife. And
really, was that in every timeline? I thought they did retcon that, where it was
maybe out of the Ultimates or something. But
somewhere it got kind of.
But at no point does Hank Pym get to say, I punched you once 30 years ago. At no time.
And that's why I created Ultron.
And that's why I created Jocasta and Ultron So Hank Pym initially creates Ant-Man and he creates Ultron, but they've already. In every single movie, Tony Stark is the bad guy. He's always creating tech that causes trouble, right. which is a weakness in the series. Just because he was the biggest star, I think, initially, and they're like, well, let's milk this as long as Robert Downey Jr. is willing to play.
Well, sounds like this might have been the last one, but I don't know if there's been any reports, but didn't you get the feeling at the end of this movie that it
was a new team?
Yeah, obviously a new team, but not just from the Avengers, but from the showbiz side of it, Robert Downey Jr. is you know what, guys? This has been a blast, but I think I'm done.
Oh, interview-wise, has he been talking about it?
No, I don't think he has. That's
the visceral feeling you get from it?
That's the visceral feeling I get is that maybe...
Definitely going to get to that point where the actors are going to say...
I think Robert Downey Jr., and again, there could be interviews saying the complete opposite, and people could be writing going, Graham, you're completely wrong. Just the vibe I get is him going...
Is there an Avengers 4 in the works, though?
I'm sure there is deep into the bowels of
But not
Marvel
announced. It wasn't part of Phase 3 announced?
No, it's not announced. What's going to happen is I think Civil War has been announced.
Right, and he'll be in that.
Yeah, he'll be in that, and also it's looking like, too, they're getting Spider-Man into it now, too, because they're making a deal with Sony to get the rights to his character. But what most likely is happening is that they're going to share rights. Marvel can control the character, but Sony's going to have to get a payout. Something.
Well, I think that they did that with
Infinity War Part 1 is announced. That is in 2018.
2018, though the Infinity Glove. Mm-hmm. All right.
So, and that's that's
Gauntlet of whatever.
Yeah, that's Thanos.
Thanos.
Yeah, he has. We were saying before, he's been sitting around for a few movies, waiting for things to happen.
Just lurking.
Now he got up
on his throne.
Yeah,
he's like, well, I guess I'll have
to
myself.
I have to get the rest of these stones now. Mm-hmm. So now let's talk broad terms first. The movie itself started great out of the gate. We don't have to be introduced to these characters anymore. We know them. So we know, and they've also fought as a team together. I thought it was great the way it opened. I thought it was great the way it kind of unfolded. And I really liked some of the character scenes too. The movie knew when to slow down, which I like. Especially with Captain America, I thought they really did some nice things with his character. Mm-hmm. However, the main complaint I had, with Graham, too, is there's too much going on. There were too many new characters, too many things trying to get introduced. It almost felt like, well, no, the mandate is, yeah, we want you to tell a story, but you have to introduce all these new characters so we can set up the things that are coming.
Right. It wasn't made for anyone who didn't know what the hell they were going into.
Right.
As opposed to Guardians of the Galaxy, which introduced a boatload of characters, but everyone, it just washed over you and you were okay with it.
It was very self-contained.
You didn't need to know anything about Guardians to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Whereas this felt like, I honestly, in the middle of watching this movie, and again, overall, I loved it. Mm-hmm. And I said this on our regular episode, is I felt like I need to go back and watch every one of these Marvel movies.
That is an attainable goal, my friend. You should totally do that.
Starting with what? Iron Man 1 and then
Iron Man 2 and then Hulk.
And you have to watch all the post-credit sequences at the end too.
Right.
That sets stuff up.
Right. And then the one-shots.
I feel like I need to binge watch that over a weekend and then go see Ultron again.
One more time,
to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So
that party scene was crazy. The fact that there was Falcon, there was Rhodey.
There was a lot of people in there.
And I was surprised Agent Carter didn't just show up from the dead then.
Yeah.
I was psyched she was in it though. I was psyched that Agent Carter showed up in Captain America's flashback.
Oh,
yes.
Right.
Now, here's a good little Easter egg hunt. If any of you guys can find it or the fans can find it. At the end, there was a credit to the robot from Studio Ghibli's Castle in the Sky.
Yeah.
So they used it somewhere, in some image, in somewhere, but I could not find it.
Okay.
So as an Easter egg, if anybody could find it, where was the robot from Castle in the Sky?
Okay.
It had to be somewhere. So I really liked it. Like I said, the only problem was I had two problems with it, and again, minor problems. I really enjoyed it.
Right.
Was it got a little too crowded. I felt like the Vision, I thought, as we talked about earlier, was a great foil to Ultron.
Yep.
Like it wasn't like, oh, he's my enemy. No, it's like I'm on the side of life. I get it. I have to destroy Ultron because you're going to destroy all life on humans on the planet. So those two together, especially when they had a conversation with each other, I found that really interesting. And
it was
compelling.
a great scene, that conversation.
And it was like, well, I kind of, maybe I wanted more of that instead of the Scarlet Witch and, Quicksilver just kind of shoehorned into this film.
Right, but I think they were psyched that and my theory on the Scarlet Witch Quicksilver thing is that the X-Men get Quicksilver and the Avengers get the Scarlet Witch. Am I right?
Well, no, they share the rights.
They share the rights, but I feel like movie-wise,
they're going to
that's why Quicksilver didn't make it.
Oh, that could be. But
the thing about Quicksilver somebody was really mad about him not making it, but I was like, I don't know. Terrigen Mist, anybody can just push, and then all of a sudden he's back.
Yeah.
But his character was kind of better in X-Men anyway.
Much better in X-Men. I agree. And also what was weird is like the speed effects were better in X-Men. Like I really felt like it was like, oh yeah, this is really cool.
The way that was shot.
I really
rewatched
felt
that
like
scene.
Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch were an afterthought here, and they were shoehorned into this. Like they didn't need to be there. And a couple other things like
I will say this though, the Scarlet Witch though, I think, I don't know how they would have done this, but I liked that her power then gave us all these cool flashbacks.
And nightmares or premonitions.
Whatever those things were.
Yeah.
Right.
They were a mix, actually. One of them, like Iron Man's one, was a premonition that all the Avengers were dead, whereas Black Widow's one was her history and how she came to be.
Which was cool. I didn't know
and
much
very
about
creepy,
her.
yeah.
Right. Well, the thing about the Scarlet Witch's her powers are so muddied and made more so by the cinematic universe, even more so now, because clearly what she was doing was she was revealing people's greatest fears,
right?
And their hopes and dreams and how they would all be destroyed and you're gonna break it. But one of my favorite things was because Thor is from Asgard, and all magic-y.
You're from Midgard.
I'm from Midgard.
I thought you were Midgard adjacent.
Well, it's the same zip code. Anyway, so but area code's different. But but he believes in magic. He is a magical guy. So when he goes into the water to get his vision, he's like, no, there will be no committee meeting. I will be lighting up the vision, and the vision will be born. And everyone else, like Quicksilver, unplugged everybody. Mm-hmm. And Scarlet Witch's line about Ultron, where do you think Ultron got that idea where he can't tell the difference between what will destroy the world and what will save the world? That's from Tony Stark. It was just, there was some really great awesome kind of socio-political stuff.
Yeah, there were some great themes in there,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Those are my favorite things with it.
And I really wanted to see a little bit more of that, like, explored. Like, one of the problems I had with Ultron is I really felt like they kind of got the personality bothered me a little bit, like kind of like that smart alecky kid, like spoiled brat.
I kind of loved it just because he was Tony Stark but faster.
Yeah,
Because he was. Remember when he does the quip before Tony Stark,
right?
And Tony Stark was right behind him. That was like, oh, so he downloaded his personality, so he's kind of a tool bag.
And he's also, the thing I like, he basically was Tony Stark without any conscience at all.
Yeah,
right.
Like if Tony was, before Tony had the epiphany.
Right.
Like at the beginning of Iron Man 1, when he's like, that's how Dad did it, that's how America does it, blowing them up for money. You know? I feel like that's who Ultron was just like, just raw Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Which is...
Well, that's a fair point. I mean, I just didn't resonate with it as much. I wanted to see like a super intelligent robot that sees the humans as the problem on the planet. I love that. Like I like
that exists.
I like the Ultron in the trailer better than I like the Ultron in the movie because it was more cold, calculated, and I'm smarter than you. I know what's best for you, and that's your destruction. And there's nothing you can do to stop me. But I'm going to say it in a kind, patient way because I know you're a smaller, inferior life form.
Right. There is some robot I can't remember the name of that always calls people meat bags, and he's like the fleshy one. Let's kill those. And meat bag. And but there were a couple things. My problem with Ultron was technical, literally a graphic. His mouth was mushy. It was like I was like, I don't need to see Ultron's teeth. Why does Ultron have teeth?
Oh, right.
What's with the fillings? Yeah. And then when the city is lifted up, we're bringing the city into the sky, and they can't figure out what to do with the sky. I was pretty sure that they were going to keep going into space, and it was going to be turned into the blue zone on the moon. And that's where the Inhumans were going to live. I don't know. It would have been, not that the Inhumans haven't been there forever, but I think it would have added to the Inhumans space.
They give him another town.
Right, it was give him some land, a little arable land. Who doesn't want Slovenia's or whatever, shoot up a stand or whatever it was called.
Volvania. Shoot up a stand.
Shoot up a stand.
Latveria.
It was not Latveria. That would have been awesome. When will Doom come?
And the horrible Fantastic Four movie that's coming out. Fantastic Four babies.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah.
Seems unlikely that that's. I've yet to.
They're not going to cross because
I've
that's
never
all
even
Fox
been able
rights.
to read a Fantastic Four.
You know what?
book.
I'll honestly say it was probably, even as a comic, one of my least favorites.
Yeah, I've never been able to get into it. I don't know why, because there is a new, I know. It's the new S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comic book, that's out. Sue Storm is in it. She is co-opted by Coulson to come back into, because she's invisible and she has force field and he needs that. And so he's like, I'm going to activate you. And so she was pretty great in that comic book, but that was the best thing I've seen coming from the Fantastic Four
in a long time.
In the 10 years that I've been reading. In a weird S.H.I.E.L.D. comic adjacent. Oh, did you hear Joss Whedon was mad about them bringing Coulson back to life?
Wasn't that on his show?
Not on his show. It was on, it's on his brother's show. He was like a co-executive producer for a Heartbeat, but he was kind of pissy about it because, he likes to kill people, Joss Whedon.
Right.
And, but he brought Colossus back in the comic book, so, what's good for the goose?
Yeah.
What are you you can't say nobody can, everybody gets brought back.
Yeah.
Even
it's a comic
Coulson,
book.
and adds it,
So this movie too, you could tell what I think is really smart is that Marvel doing these phases. Like what you have is you have the individual movies, which are self-contained, and then you also have the Avengers, which is like the culmination of all these self-contained movies. Now, one of the challenges with these movies is you have so many characters that already have their individual movies. You have to give everyone something to do in the film. Like they can't always just be following.
You can't run a D&D game without giving everybody a task.
Someone has to be a cleric.
Right. Someone has to be a cleric. You need a healer.
Yeah. Hashtag turn undead.
Conspicuous silence from Graham Elwood.
So what is a challenge that I think has been met in 2 movies now is that you've got all these different characters, but you always have something for them to do. And it's always a challenge when you have this many things going on, especially when you only have like one villain, when you have Ultron. Granted, he makes a bunch of copies of himself, but...
Right, everyone has someone to punch.
There's not that showdown. Like, remember, it's always like the Justice League versus the Legion of Doom, where there's a bunch of heroes on one side, a bunch of villains on the other. So everyone kind of has someone to fight.
Right.
So,
it's man to man.
Yeah.
It isn't a zone. And,
Mano a mano.
Yeah. So I really think these movies do a good job of that. They're great big spectacles. They're so much fun. They're great summer fun. And I thought it was a little random that Quicksilver did get killed towards the end, but they realized, well, we got to kill somebody. Who's it going to be?
Right, and he can come back. And when he got shot in the like 3/4 of the way in, I was like, uh-oh. I thought my worst fear was that they were going to kill Hawkeye, and then when they didn't kill Hawkeye, I thought they were going to kill his family.
Well, when you really thought Hawkeye was going to die? When they showed his family. It's like, he's
down. He's
right.
dead.
When you set up somebody's family.
Right. Oh, he's got a family? Oh, that's a dead man.
Oh,
Yes.
and he's happy at home?
Can't wait to watch her cry over his corpse at the end of the film.
Exactly. Or him just screaming at the sky in Wolverine fashion.
Right,
because they murdered the family.
Yeah, someone's going to die in that.
But my favorite thing about all of these movies together is that what we've always seen with movies is sequels, right? Spin-offs.
Right.
In this case, it's all of a spin into. Instead of spin-offs, these are not... There's an Iron Man movie that spins into the Avengers, right? It doesn't... We didn't have an Avengers movie and then split up into 5 different movies.
Exactly. Well, it was a plan.
And this movie is spinning into Captain America Civil War.
Right.
Because
it's just
Tony
one
Stark
into
and, Iron Man and Captain America are going to go at it.
Right.
Yeah, which in the comics, if they would have sat down and had a conversation, really would have cut to the chase. I don't know how they're going to do that in the movie because they do talk. Because Steve Rogers is the kind of guy who's like, well, we should sit down and
let's settle this.
Let's not punch each other into a submission. Let's actually talk because he's weirdly enough the only adult among the team.
Right. Yeah.
But in the comics, the Civil War is the Registration Act, the Superhero Registration Act, and so everyone has to reveal it's got to be where Spider-Man comes in, right?
Yes.
Okay, because is Spider-Man going to be in Civil War?
That's the rumor. He's going to be in Civil War. In fact, they're recasting him.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's not like they're pretty
They're
much
not going to have that emo boy?
They're not going to have emo boy.
Back McGuire.
Yeah, there's a couple of casting rumors and there's going to be in Civil War, but nothing's been officially kind of like confirmed. But that's the way it should go. I mean, one of the things is they're saying is that well, let's put it this way. Spider-Man kind of needs to go back to Marvel, especially the way they've been handling him lately. And,
they've dropped the ball hardcore.
Yeah, but what happens is Sony's like, well, no, we'll just keep making movies because we don't want to lose the rights, backdoor dealings. And I kind of predicted this. I said, what's going to happen is they're going to work out a deal where Sony can keep some of the revenue, but have Spider-Man go into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, they just get a taste of it. It'll be. Turns out there's enough money to go around, you guys.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Yeah. People will go see
billions
the
of dollars per fucking movie.
Right.
And Marvel just got the rights back to a couple more characters. They just got the rights back to...
If Spider-Man entered this universe, God, would it be awesome.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Spider-Man finally done correctly with all of these people. Imagine if Spider-Man was in there... Spider-Man was in there...
Bill Spider-Man.
Bill Spider-Man was in there quipping along with these guys.
Yeah.
If it's written correctly and you cast it correctly, that would be like, oh...
How great. Did you guys see the image of Thor's hammer in an elevator? Online yesterday. I saw just somebody put Thor's hammer in an elevator and said, "Oh, the elevator is worthy." And so that whole thing where with the fact that the Vision could pick up Thor's hammer, that was awesome. That was so great. It was just like, we got to go.
Well, let's get into this. Let's go into the ending of this, which again, as you say, these movies never end. They sort of spin into something else.
Yeah, it's not necessarily Ultron. His last one was destroyed, but as Ultron, he can come back to it.
Yeah, it turns out Ultron's hiding in like a Mac Classic in like the middle of Illinois. It'll be fine. And so there's 2 megs of RAM somewhere. That he's willing to.
Ultron.
He'll rebuild himself. It'll work out. It's is Tony Stark going to build Jocasta? Is he also going to build Warlock and the Danger Room? You can't have Tony Stark build every robot an evil robot that there is.
Right.
It's at
some point the evil robots have to build each other.
Oh, they will. Why wouldn't they?
Well, then, so then the ending. So we've got this new Avenger school.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Basically.
Oh, right. So it's Rhodey and it's Falcon and it's Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch, by the way, her powers are over reality. That's what her powers were and they're conflating him with the Phoenix and
she's also a robot lover.
Oh, that's right. She gets with the Vision, right? Doesn't she? I never read that one.
Yeah.
All right.
They've been together. They were together for a long time in the.
They didn't
Avengers
show
comics.
a crotch shot of the Vision. Does the Vision have machinery? Does he have
she's
equipment?
going to build one.
He can build some equipment.
Gets a little bit of that Scarlet
You're
Witch
super-
strange. He's going to want to build.
You're a super intelligent robot. You could figure it out.
Right. His mouth is mushy. No.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Who went blue? I went blue. And it was. Yeah. So at the end of it, there's a new Avengers team, but that doesn't mean that there's no. I mean.
Well,
it just means that the next Avengers movie is going to be even busier. You know?
It's the
Jesus.
Avengers B team.
Well, yeah, and because who gives a shit about watching all those guys? It's like the Hulk. So the Hulk's MIA.
Yep.
They kind of said, "Oh, I think he might be here."
Kiss.
Yeah.
They kissed. It was great. That's never been in the comics, by the way. Black Widow Hulk.
No,
That's awesome. That's
I
awesome.
love that, and part of me is like, I want to know where that goes.
Yeah.
Does he? Because I loved that, and I think Mark Ruffalo, and I said this in the bonus content on the iPhone app for episode 267, which is the
When
Hulk.
we talk about our favorite Avengers.
We talk about our favorite Avengers.
Oh.
Mark Ruffalo, the Hulk is my favorite Avenger. Mark Ruffalo is, to me, like
I have insight into
the
that.
best on-screen Hulk that we've seen. I
Yeah.
thought Ed Norton was okay.
Yeah.
And then,
no, everybody did the best they could, but I
you
think Mark
think
Ruffalo really personifies.
He was, well, and I remember when they first showed him, which was
Don't forget Eric Bana.
Oh, God.
I will.
Forget Eric Bana. That's what you said that wrong.
And Nick Nolte. Remember that movie by the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon director?
Yeah.
Ouch.
Perfect.
People
Anyway.
just thought I made that up. No, that's an actual Hulk movie.
Yeah,
That's
that
a Hulk
happened.
movie.
Ang Lee made a film.
Don't make me Ang Lee. You wouldn't like me when I'm Ang Lee. That is a Stuart Lee joke. Stuart Lee, you guys, a British comedian, very, very funny, knows more about the Hulk than a lot of people.
Do you think we'll get another Hulk movie?
I think
Standalone?
Don't you think that's what this was spinning into? Where did he disappear to? We're
I
going to have
do
a
think it
whole-
was spinning into because it's got to be a solo. Because you remember when Nick Fury shows up, by the way, awesome,
Right.
And
Nick Fury without Shield.
Nick Fury just showing up,
Yeah.
just clearly has access to a gajillion.
And I
dollars.
love how he just is like, I don't know, there's no shield. Like, I'm just a guy drifting on the streets. Like,
Yeah.
right. All your friends and contacts are split.
Classic, yeah. And but he
Then how did you get here?
Yeah, how did you find us?
right because he will find the Hulk because he found the Hulk initially, and sent the Black Widow. But will there be a Black Widow movie?
Here's didn't it seem like to you that it's like Black Widow Hulk
Would be a great,
rom-com? You know what I mean?
that'd be-
Superhero
it'd be the
rom-com?
best.
Well, at first it looked like it was going to be a Black Widow Hawkeye movie.
Right. Well, yeah, 2 movies ago.
Who's
Sure.
another boyfriend of Black Widow?
Right.
And who else is?
Oh, who else besides Hawkeye?
Daredevil.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. She, allow me to quote Jeremy Renner. She's a slut. The thing is I couldn't believe that they were, and then of course the hoopla about it.
Yes.
But, you're like, that's a fictional character. And, but it's, did you guys watch the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Black Widow program episode?
No.
Because in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. there's a Black Widow from 1952. And they go to the Red Room, and this woman was awesome. This blonde woman who was from Iowa. She was from Iowa, and turns out she's a cold stone killer because she's a Black Widow, but she's the Black Widow of 1952, Agent Carter time. So, that's right. It was an Agent Carter. It wasn't an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right, it was Agent Carter.
It's all a blur.
Which is early Shield.
Which is early S.H.I.E.L.D. when it was called the whatever something before S.H.I.E.L.D. But
Because to me, the thing I liked about
Is there any superhero shows you haven't seen?
most of the DC stuff, and the only one I miss not seeing is the Flash.
The Flash is amazing.
Because the Flash is super cute. I'm told that it's got the good comic book sensibility.
It really does.
Because Gotham, here's my thing about Gotham. Who knew that Gotham, the best thing about Gotham for me are the children.
Yeah, and then they go far away from it and become some dumb horror movie. It's like a slasher film now.
We already, we had talked
really?
about that before.
Okay.
We're all on the same page on Gotham.
Yeah, but the children are awesome.
great. Yeah. Make that
They're
the story.
so good. Please follow these children around all the time. And the kid that's playing Catwoman, who's 15.
Yeah.
You know when you look at a child and go, Jesus, that is going to be a good-looking human when she's a grown-up lady. Holy crap, she's a knockout now, and she's way too young.
5 years, she's going to be destroying things.
Just with her just walking, people just falling over. Holy smokes. And the Poison Ivy kid? Oh my God! Talk about weirdo, awesome weirdo kid. And anyway,
one of the things they did, speaking of DC shows, is Arrow and Flash are really good, especially together.
Yeah,
like
I heard Arrow was hard to get into. Second season the best. Third season not as good.
The second season was definitely the best. Third season rambles a little bit, but it's still worthwhile.
Fun.
But what I like about it too is they really mix the two shows well. Like one character from one show will visit the other ones, and they
enjoy that.
They make it like a world. And Barry Allen started on Arrow, and he became the Flash on Arrow, and that launched the Flash. But what they do too, which is great, is they do a Batman Superman thing. Arrow is Batman, where it's darker, more violent. The city is darker, whereas the Flash is like Metropolis. It's bright,
glitzy,
fun, glitzy, and it's also lighter. Like I let my daughter
more primary colors.
Yes, I let my daughter watch the Flash. We don't watch Arrow together.
Fair enough.
So it's really, if they can figure out a way to start expanding that, which they have like Black Canary, the Atom, but the Atom doesn't shrink. That makes no sense to me.
If he's an Atom.
Yeah, he should be shrinking. Now he's just a guy in a suit.
Maybe it's just ADAM.
Yeah. So but that's the only, DC just can't figure it out the way Marvel has.
Well, that's because they're still working on that old model of spin-offs instead of spin-into.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
You know what? Ben Acker had the greatest pitch for a Wonder Woman Superman movie. For a Wonder Woman movie that was essentially a post-Superman world where she has been talked into killing Superman because of all she's seen is him destroy New York, and her mother from the Amazons sends her to kill Superman, and she kills him. And then she's like, I think I made a mistake. And then becomes the Linda Carter character, and then she goes to Hades and brings him back. And you're like, I am on board with a Wonder Woman going to Hades movie.
Yes.
And bringing back a dead Superman. And then weird, Brainiac is in it. And he had, the greatest. It was the greatest. I was like, please, why is Thrilling Adventure Hour taking up any of your time, Ben Acker? And please do the Wonder Woman movie. And so I was going to say about Hulk though, is that I would love to see a Hulk movie where she shows up at the end. I would love to see a Black Widow movie where he's not in it at all. And I would like to see Nick Fury in both of those movies. And
well, here's the thing that I want to see more of in the Hulk movie is I want to see a whole movie dedicated to how Mark Ruffalo depicted the struggle of Dr. Banner. Like, I can't be this guy because I kill people and I destroy things and I'm never letting him out again. And, Black Widow going, sorry, I need you, big guy. Like, that was an awesome scene when she fucking pushes him. And, I love you, but I need the other guy.
And that
and her love for him, I don't know. I want to see more of it.
Yeah.
Like some of that got explored in the old TV show, like the Bill Bixby one, where, that's why he kept moving around. It's like, I can't, this is going to hurt people. I can't.
He was such a drift. That's the thing I loved about that TV show was such a that haunting music at the end of every episode.
Every guy who loves the Hulk, and this is speculative fiction on mine, because I don't know your inner workings, Graham Elwood, but every guy I know who's a big Hulk guy has got that scene where Mark Ruffalo turns around and says, the secret is, I'm always angry. Is those are guys that are constantly trying to keep it together. And they're like, oh, that's what I have inside of me. And that is why we almost fight that fight. And I think that the Hulk is just a personification of how you are trying to be a good guy. Not you, but I mean how people are trying to be a good.
You just had me right in your crosshairs, Jackie.
You're constantly trying to be a good guy, but you're like, no, but I wish to rip things in half.
Yeah, yes.
And when you're the Hulk, you can.
Why did you waste all that money on therapy?
All you needed was a little Dork Forest insight.
Jackie just nailed it. That's exactly why I identify with that. That's why I identify with the Batman, because he's
super dark. He's broken, and he's never completely gone away with Batman.
ever.
The
but wants to do the right thing and
Always
does the right thing in a kind of fucked up, sort of evil way.
And that's I'm watching Daredevil, and I was like, okay. And the thing about Daredevil is that he has some self-awareness about how he has to let go of all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just watched an episode of Daredevil where him and Wilson Fisk say almost the exact same thing about Hell's Kitchen.
Right.
How they came back to Hell's Kitchen to make it better.
Right, and that's
you're
perfect.
like,
Both sides of the same coin.
Both sides of the same psychopathic coin.
Well, my wife and I were watching it, and she looks at me and goes, "Don't you get tired of seeing Daredevil hit people?" And I went immediately, "No, I don't."
Whoever is doing the choreography on those fight scenes should be canonized, man. That person needs a medal because they are beautiful. And I thought that was the night nurse, Rosario Dawson. I thought it was the night nurse, and maybe she turns into the night nurse, but that's not her name, Claire Campbell. You know the night nurse, right? In the comic books.
I don't.
She's the one that everybody always shows up and they're all broken up, and she just fixes them, and she fixes superheroes, and that's what she does. And so she knows everybody's secret identity.
Oh.
And I always wanted to, I would, if I wrote a comic book, I'd want to write a night nurse comic book, just because I think she's awesome, and I think she could be really funny, because she's clearly very funny. If she's just sitting around going, and you're like, and you want to go, well, how do you make does somebody drop some money off at some point?
Yeah.
Does Tony Stark underwrite this? What's happening? Somebody has to pay you.
That's what we were saying at the other episode. It's like when Spider-Man became an Avenger briefly. It was like he went because they were paying. He's like, oh, you guys get paid for this? He's like, this sounds great.
I have never understood why he delivered fucking pizzas. Isn't he a scientific genius kid?
Yeah.
Hey, scientific genius kid, get a job. Get a real job.
Well, you know, it's photographer for the Daily Bugle was when he was doing it. But here's
Jackie Kashian just made the jerk off sign with her wrist.
Yeah, it was. I meant as far as I'm concerned, he was delivering pizzas for a living.
Now, wait a minute.
Yeah,
let's
photographer of
let's give him
himself.
some credit here.
Let Peter Parker? Okay.
Especially the writers that actually reinvented him a little bit. There was a great run that actually had him older, and he was a science teacher, and he went back to his old school to teach science.
Okay.
And there was an amazing run, too, about how his powers were actually a little bit mystical. So there was another Spider-Man that came in and, was his
disapproval.
Well, no, that was his mentor.
Okay.
And it was an interesting arc, because then there was actually this villain that came out and basically was eating superhero essence. And
Spider-Verse? Are you talking Spider-Verse or no?
this was before.
Okay, before.
But what it did is it went into more of
Sorry.
more of the mythology of Spider-Man and maybe where his powers came from. And
Less sciencey and more mystical.
It mixed both. That's what I
Okay.
liked about it. It was like, and one of the things that saved him is because his powers came from science and not mysticism, and it was like a cool mix on mythology, but also he's a science and technology, and that's kind of what saved him.
Did you read the Doc Ock Superior Spider-Man? It's the greatest. I'm now reading Spider-Man, you guys. I haven't read Spider-Man since I was 14. And Doc Ock takes over Spider-Man's body, and Doc Ock dies, and Doc Ock realizes that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. He's like, well, I will be the best Spider-Man ever. I will be a superior Spider-Man. And he is. He is a superior Spider-Man. He gets Spider-Man shit all in a row. And then, because he's Doc Ock, he goes bananas. And then it's hilarious. And it's so, I think it was Mark Waid. I forget who wrote it, but, it's so good. If you get a chance.
What's it called? Superior
Spider-Man. And it comes out of, and then goes into Spider-Verse, but Superior Spider-Man is its own thing, and it's great, because when Doc Ock falls in love, you guys. He falls in love. And but he's and he does his doctorate of a thing that only Doc Ock could do. So when Peter Parker gets back into his body, as we all knew he would, he's like, wait, I have a doctorate in essentially having 8 arms and a weird. I don't know anything about nanotechnology. I'm a different kind of he's a different kind of nerd, right? He's a different science nerd than Doc Ock.
So now, when we look at the Avengers now,
Let's get back to the Avengers.
Let's get back to the actual name of this.
Yeah, what are the Avengers you would like to see? That we haven't seen yet.
Well, wait a minute. First of all, we got to answer some questions about the action. We got to talk about the specific film.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. We've been on some.
Okay, so Quicksilver.
Back to track.
So Quicksilver dies.
Yes.
Quicksilver dies, and he's super fast, but he's I don't understand why he can't just slide in between those bullets, but there's too many of them.
Right.
And he is killed. And it is sad. And it is, but it wasn't that sad. Like, I would have been sadder if the Quicksilver in X-Men would have died.
Yes, because you got to know that character better.
Yeah, they really didn't commit too much. But that scene at the end when Hawkeye talks to the Scarlet Witch and says, come out, don't come out. You can stay here, but if you come out, you're working for a living.
Yeah.
And that
was a good speech.
That was a great speech where all the shit's going down.
Yeah.
One of the things I really like too is, and it touched on it, is because you have Tony Stark is like, well, we're going to create an armor around the world. That's what we want. And then ultimately his good intentions, as they always do with Tony Stark, turn out monstrous. But what I find fascinating about that Tony Stark character is that he never owns it, too. It's like, he has that type of ego, which actually makes the character more interesting. It's like, hey, I'm sorry, I screwed up, and, I never should have been playing God and all that stuff. Never. You never hear that speech from him. It's like,
he's like any of those, like, super genius guys who are like, I'm the smartest guy here.
Yep.
Yeah, this happened, but wasn't my fault.
And
so
here's how it actually can work. Well, now, here's the thing I was a little confused on. So I saw there was this like Scarlet Witch has made Tony Stark kind of crazy, and that's why he's doing this. Like, he's not being his true Tony Starkness.
Yes.
That's what was confusing to me. So then, did that end, or was that like a?
Well, here's
what
I think. This is a theory, and Jackie will.
It's like a spell.
Jackie will correct.
I think it was
us.
triggered.
Here's what happened. I think is what the Scarlet Witch triggered the greatest fears in Tony Stark, that he would be the result of the Avengers being killed. So the impetus was that if she implants this and lets him take the scepter, he'll create Ultron that will ultimately destroy the Avengers. And when it backfired, when Ultron decided, no, I'm going to kind of destroy everyone.
Right. I think, it was it triggered something in him. Because remember who said to Tony Stark, you're afraid that you're going to be alive at the end of it? He said, you're going to kill all of them, but you're going to live through it. That's your greatest fear, is that you're not going to die with them. You're going to be the cause of their death, and you're going to live through it. And he was like, oh, yeah, I think you're right. And because I think that's what he does. I don't think that she made him. He wants to create an armor around the world. So it was revealed to him that he's like, well, I have to protect. Even Iron Man 3 was entirely about how he has to protect. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's Captain Protector, and he's out of his mind, right? And so, but
it is a great speech that he gives,
to Bruce Banner.
Where he gives it all of them. He's like, when they're all mad at him, he goes, did you guys don't remember the hole in the sky where the aliens came in and fought us in New York? Mm-hmm. And that was like,
and they're going to come back.
And they're going to come back.
Yeah, he immediately changed the subject. Look, no matter mistakes I've made, you got to still listen and let me do what I want.
Right. Yeah. And Thor comes in and activates the Vision, completely vindicating Tony Stark. He's like, in his mind, right? Mm-hmm. Even though he should have gone to committee. He doesn't have any mystical, he's just arrogant, right? So he should have gone to committee. Instead, he talks Bruce Banner into doing this another great scene where Bruce Banner's like, this is deja vu. I am doing the exact same thing that caused the problem in the first place. And I guess I'm into it because I'm a science nerd and I want to do an experiment.
Stark's like, not really, though.
Another great speech was Captain America towards the end, saying that's like, Ultron thinks that, like, we're, too horrible to live as humans or whatever because of our, what we do. And then let's try not to prove him right.
Yes.
Like, and which leads into the speech at the end between, or the conversation between Vision and Ultron at the end is like, they're doomed. Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean we should. Yeah, kind of like that doesn't mean we should kill them all.
Yeah.
So how is the Vision from the comic book to this film different?
I don't know a great deal I forget the Vision's origin story. The Vision's actual origin story is different than this, clearly. This has been co-opted into the cinematic canon universe.
Was he always this sort of guy that's like...
He was always an android.
He was an android fleshy mix.
Who's good, but in a Spock kind of a way.
Yeah,
sort of
and very... When he creates the cape, you're just like, oh, all right.
But also, I think part of the canon too is depending on if there's comic book, there's cartoons, there's the cinematic now.
And they can pull from all of it.
They can pull from all of it. Yeah, Ultron does create him at some point.
That's right. Ultron creates the Vision.
Yeah, Ultron creates the Vision, and then the Vision, for
becomes
one reason or
his
another,
own.
becomes his own. He comes sentient on his own and realizes that he's on the wrong side. But the
that
Vision
gem
has
is
some,
not an Infinity Stone
the gem's
in
not
any
an-
other
no.
in any other.
This is the
world.
first time I've ever seen it as an Infinity
Neither
Stone.
is the Tesseract an Infinity Stone. The Tesseract was the cosmic cube in the comic books, and
Right.
it wasn't an.
Well,
but I don't care.
They're consolidating. Yeah. It's,
I have no problem
No.
with whatever, as long as they're telling a fun story.
Right, exactly.
You can
change the details.
Do whatever.
It's okay.
Take what you need.
But one of the things about the Vision is we didn't even see all his powers here. He's got a ton of powers. Like
Yeah.
everything from invisibility to partially materializing. Like what he would do a lot is he would take his arm, partially materialize it, stick it in somebody's chest, and then materialize it. And then that would apparently not kill people, but knock them out. So that was one of the things he
that
would
sounds
do.
pretty killy to me.
Yeah, it does sound
Holy-
killy, but for some reason,
Super
in
killy.
the comic, it would always just kind of knock someone out.
But remember, wouldn't it, do you think they'll ever do a Scarlet Witch? No More Mutants? She created
No, because you've got
It's too big?
all the rights to the mutants are
right.
in Fox.
and she's a child in the
Yeah.
in the X-Men movie.
Right.
It's her and Quicksilver, and they're not twins in the
Right.
X-Men movie.
Yeah, and
she's a lot younger.
so I don't know what the next X-Men movie will look like or Wolverine movie, but they're probably not going to mix. It's interesting to see some of the characters that they have shared rights to, like Quicksilver. That doesn't happen with a lot of the characters.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. That was one of the reasons they killed him. It was like, well, you have
You guys can
Quicksilver
have-
here. We'll kill him here.
How come we didn't see Natalie Portman in this film?
Well,
That's
they
a great
can't afford
question.
her or Gwyneth Paltrow. They had $250 billion. What was it?
Yeah.
There was a gajillion dollars involved, and they didn't have another $20 million a pop for Pepper Potts and Jane.
For literally one cameo, or just have him at the party.
Yeah.
Well, that's where everyone else was.
Yeah.
And Maria Hill, they were like, well, we'll have Maria Hill.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have Maria Hill. We'll have Black Widow. It would have been great if they would have had,
They get
does it pass the Bechdel test?
What do you mean?
This movie, I can't, the Bechdel test is, whether there are two women characters in a movie, whether they ever have a conversation that is not about men.
I don't know because
I'm going
because
to go see it in an hour and I will
find
check.
out because I'm not sure. I don't think it will because I don't remember any of those scenes. Because even when Black Widow,
I don't think they
and-
talk.
well,
Marie.
no, Black Widow talks to Hawkeye's wife, but they talk about Hawkeye.
Oh, right.
So
Do Maria and the Black Widow talk? Ever? I don't think they did.
that I'm not sure.
I don't think they had a conversation. Yeah. So,
It might.
yeah,
be a
as
fail.
much as it might be a fail, and as much as I love Joss Whedon, is he going to do the next one?
No.
I thought he was done,
No,
right?
he's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is too bad, even though other people have skills. Other people are great.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to give everything to Joss Whedon and J.J. Abrams. We've had that conversation
There's more
before.
filmmakers on the planet.
It turns
Yeah.
out there are other filmmakers on the planet who love these things as well.
Yes.
And Bryan Singer doesn't have to be involved either.
Ever.
No.
Ever. For any of them.
Oh, Christ on a cracker.
Well, if you had a choice between Bryan Singer and McG,
Right, but I'd lock up the boys.
right?
That's all I'd say. Oh, lock up the children if you're around Bryan Singer is what I hear. Anyway, yeah.
All
But
right.
In other news, I liked it. You guys?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah,
like
it
it.
was-
Any
it
other
was-
scenes
it
that
was
pop
really fun.
out we want to talk about?
Any scenes that pop out?
Anything from the movie that
Oh.
we haven't talked about yet?
I'll tell you, the Black Widow flashback scenes were very creepy, and it
Yeah.
also makes you want to kind of see an entire prequel.
You got to see that episode of Agent Carter.
Yeah, I want to
where-
know more about her.
Because the Red Room, I don't know enough about the Red Room. But the Red Room, in Agent Carter, they just have all of these little girls just watching Snow White over and over and over again. Snow White. Learn how to speak in English according to Snow White. And it's pretty spooky, but what other scenes? There were, you know what? It was 1,000 great lines, quite honestly.
Yeah, everybody had great lines.
It knew when to slow down, it knew when to speed up.
The constantly making fun of Captain America of her language,
Yeah,
Right.
that was
that was funny.
Rhodey trying to tell that story. When he was telling that story to Iron Man and Captain America. And he was like, that story kills you guys. Nothing from you? Nothing.
Yeah.
And then they show him like 2 seconds later telling it to a group of people who burst out laughing at the party. That whole party scene, it was busy, but it was great.
It was great
Yeah,
because
yeah, it was
Thor,
good.
when he tells that story and Thor's like, "Oh, that's it? It's like we're the Avengers.
Yeah.
Right. We have 1,000 of those stories.
Yeah,
You
yeah, we
guys?
do that 15 times
I
a
just
day.
drop the suit right there, and I'm like, boom. Nope. Nothing.
Nothing.
I
I have a magical hammer that can travel through time. in space.
yeah.
What do you do again? You got a suit.
And when it moves a little bit, when Captain America almost picks it up, awesome
Yeah,
shot.
see it, show it.
Super
Oh,
cute.
man.
Super cute.
Everyone's trying to.
Yep.
Everyone's trying to move the thing. That was
And Black
hilarious.
Widow's like, I don't need to go there. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a chance. I certainly don't feel worthy of that.
They're both that scene where they were both where Tony Stark and Thor were both bragging about their girlfriends.
Yes.
That was amazing.
pretty fun.
Well,
That was
she's a
great,
little
yeah.
better than you. Nah, my girlfriend's a little bit. Like they're just both bragging about my girlfriend's
Jane's
better.
better.
Than you. Yeah.
Yeah, which would have been nice if both of them would have frickin' been there.
I know.
That was exactly like you could even have cut to them like talking and getting a drink with each other while they were talking.
And those two having a
hilarious.
really nice, mature
Yeah,
conversation that
exactly.
doesn't involve their dumb boyfriends. And
Yeah,
these
just
meatheads
talking
are
about
fighting.
science and business.
then it would have passed the test.
Then it totally would have passed
Right.
the test.
And
It would have
that would have shown actually how great these girlfriends really are.
right because
Yeah.
they don't need to be sitting next to crazy cookatoos.
Yeah,
and,
right. Fighting over
super dreamy guys, and but they both have dreamy boyfriends, and they don't need to. Yeah,
Right. Mm-hmm. And they don't need to brag or fight with each other. That would have been great.
That would have been a great scene.
that would have been a great scene.
How hilarious that have been.
Yeah.
They dropped the ball. They dropped the ball.
Oh.
Doesn't ruin the movie, but whatever.
No, it doesn't.
Anyway,
And the final thing, the button with Thanos.
yeah.
Yeah. Finally
Yeah.
getting off his throne.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to have to do this now.
Which means, are we going to see a Thanos movie?
Well, here's
The Infinity
interesting
Gauntlet
thing.
thing is.
I think now this has not been confirmed, of course, but I think you're going to have an Avengers Guardians crossover. With
You have to.
with
Well, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, you have
Because
to.
if Thanos comes from space and the
Exactly.
Guardians are out in
And the
space.
stones, the Infinity Stones. That's
Who-
what kind of
yeah,
weave
yeah.
through everything.
Who wrote, I can't remember the name of the guy who wrote Guardians and created Captain Marvel and the original one, the guy. And all of those guys he created all of these space characters who all they do is fight in space.
Right.
And they can breathe in space and they can lurk around in space. Yeah, all of that's. I would, you know what I'd really love to see is the new Ms. Marvel, that cartoon. It could just be a cartoon because she's 15. Mm-hmm. She's an Arab kid out of New Jersey, and she's awesome. And it's a great comic book. If people aren't reading Willow, G Wilson Willow, I think is the name of the author, the writer, and she's doing a great job on this kid Ms. Marvel thing. And Captain Marvel is really good. I read a lot of comic books. They're all great, you guys. What you might want to do is try Chew and Saga. And
Saga's too weird for me. I couldn't do Saga.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just too.
It's just space love. With a ghost.
It's just space love.
You know what? I'll show Graham one of them, and he'll just go, "Oh my God, what are you showing me?"
It's the horn dude and the magic lady. All right, no worries.
Yeah, it was. Sometimes it's like, when you're a horror fan, and then you like, I can't watch Human Centipede. It's like that kind of line.
Oh, wow. All right.
It's too weird.
Yep.
But I tried. I did. Like,
You gave it a shot?
I gave. It was like 5-6 books.
And
I was like,
why wasn't there another button at the end of all of the credits?
Oh yeah,
I know.
let's
They
save you
dropped
guys
the ball.
some time.
Yeah.
No button at the end of the credits. You don't. Well, you already seen it.
Again,
but,
they dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because there could have been another, just
We're
little
all
more
waiting
Nick
in the
Fury.
theater expecting for
Little Nick-
one quick.
Yep.
I'm wondering if they're like it's weird, some weird marketing thing now where they'll wait for the DVD to release it. Like then there'll be something there.
There
Like,
might be a one shot or something.
Something. I wonder if there's a reason why they didn't do it, not just like they didn't feel like doing it. I don't know. But I agree.
like that
you're sitting there the whole time, and like there better be something at the end, and there wasn't.
Right.
I didn't like it.
No. It ruined the movie for me. Yeah.
You know what? Now that I think about it, forget it. Scrap the whole goddamn.
All right, I'm going to drive away, you guys.
Yeah. Jackie
All right.
Kashian's got to go. Jackie, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm at JackieKashian.com, JackieKashian. All things, whenever you type those words into the internet, you will
You'll
see
show up.
Twitter and Instagram and Periscope, it turns out.
Nice.
And actually, my Periscope is hooked up to the Dork Forest Twitter because I didn't know what the fuck I was getting into. So it's just follow me around and go watch my stand-up comedy and listen to the Dork Forest. Thank you for having me.
Funny show.
And you can buy a lot of Jackie Kashian signed merchandise and apparel right here at the Comedy Film Nerds site.
ComedyFilmNerds.com.
And I wrote a superhero rant was the last thing I wrote for you guys.
Yes.
And that's a good one. Yeah, it's on the site.
Great. That's on the site. And also, as Jackie's one of the writers for the Comedy Film Nerds Guide to Movies.
Which people come up and ask me to sign at shows, and it's very sweet.
Excellent.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Jackie Kashian, thank you for being on the program. My name is Graham Elwood.
And I'm Chris Mancini. And as always, remember,
Han shot first.